Okay. So something just came up. David Feldman. I don't know if anyone's familiar with him out there, but he's an old white dude who is a very pro democracy person. I don't know his political leanings, but if I had to guess, he's a progressive. But so yeah, this is some Trump news about the National Enquirer catch and kill scheme.
Eruptions. The National Enquirer would then buy the story, catch it, and then kill it, and then Trump, through his fixer, Michael Cohen, would reimburse the Enquirer for paying the women for their story and buying their silence and then killing the story. And the name of the publisher of the National Enquirer who helped kill all those stories about Donald Trump not being able to keep it in his pants? Pecker. David Pecker. This week will be all about Pecker. Have at it. More on that later in the show. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran's supreme religious leader, signaled on Sunday that he would not retaliate against Israel, which retaliated against Iran after Iran fired more than 300 missiles into Israeli airspace a week ago this Sunday in retaliation for Israel's attack on the Syrian embassy earlier in the month, which was in retaliation for the Ayatollah saying the final season of Curb Your Enthusiasm was mediocre at best. I think.
Oh, I don't even understand what Curb Your Enthusiasm legitimately has to do with this, but it was mediocre.
That's where it all started. I'm not sure. During a meeting with Iran's top military leaders on Sunday, the Ayatollah praised his nation's unprecedented attack on Israel, adding, "It didn't matter that every single one of your missiles got shot out of the sky. It was still a demonstration of our country's firepower." So obviously, just like parents here in America, the Ayatollah believes in participation trophies.
It's like nothing good is happening in the world. And I'm talking about this, I'm watching this because I'm going crazy at how conservatives in this country, how some are still flocking to Trump, knowing how dangerous and detrimental to U.S. politics. So yeah, let's get back into this international Iran Israel news.
As well. Come on, guys, it's not about wiping Israel off the face of the map. It's that you did your best. Speaker Mike Johnson did his best, defied the odds, passing 3 foreign aid packages, one for Israel, one for Taiwan and its neighbors, and the highly controversial foreign aid supplemental for Ukraine. Now, the question is, will the hard-line pro-Putin wing of the GOP go ahead with Marjorie Taylor Greene's motion to vacate the chair? And with just a 1-vote majority in the House, will Republicans like Mike Johnson have to rely on House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries to come to his rescue and command that Democrats vote for Mike Johnson as a reward for finally stepping up on Ukraine?
Oh wow, I didn't realize that this is 3 hours long video. Let's just fast forward a little bit.
at Donald Trump, who was telling the National Enquirer that Google.
This is what I wanted to do, the catch and kill story.
$175 million bond. So, it's going to be bad this week for Donald Trump. So, James plans to start selling off Trump's New York properties, which he doesn't even own, starting next week.
Most of those are just licensing deals for his name.
Donald Trump.
It's like, that is really what Trump is. He's a licensing agent for his brand, his name.
Really is a threat to his masculinity. She keeps reminding everybody that Donald Trump doesn't have the money for his $175 million bond. So, it's going to be bad this week for Donald Trump.
I can't stand Donald
really
Trump.
Bad. Michael Cohen, Trump's lawyer and fixer, you might remember, was sentenced to 3 years in prison for committing one of the very crimes that Donald Trump is charged with in this trial. Everybody said of the 4 trials, criminal trials, this is the runt of the litter. Well, Michael Cohen served time, got sentenced to 3 years in prison, served time for one of the charges that Trump has been indicted for. Cohen is now out of prison, and he is prepared to testify in this trial against Donald Trump. He's planning to tell the jury that Trump ordered him to set up shell companies in order to pay Stormy Daniels, and through the shell companies, Michael Cohen would then reimburse Stormy Daniels, or if it's Karen McDougal or the doorman at Donald Trump, who was telling the National Enquirer that Donald fathered a child out of wedlock with one of the housekeepers at Trump Tower. The $30,000 would be paid by the National Enquirer, and then Michael Cohen would pay the National Enquirer to reimburse them for catching and killing the doorman story. And then Trump, according to the indictment, arranged that Cohen would be reimbursed by Donald Trump by billing Donald Trump's company for legal services he never provided. So in one instance, Michael Cohen took a loan against one of his properties, used the cash, I believe, to pay off Stormy Daniels. It was $136,000, and then he billed the Trump organization over a 12-month period for legal services that he never provided. It's illegal, it's fraud, it's forgery, and it violates campaign finance laws. Alan Weisselberg was the Trump organization's chief financial officer since the time of Fred Trump. Alan Weisselberg goes all the way back to Fred Trump. And Fred Trump said, "Keep my son out of trouble." Well, Alan Weisselberg approved the payments on these phony charges that Michael Cohen submitted to the Trump organization. But Alan Weisselberg kept his promise to the late, great KKK member Fred Trump, and he was going to testify on behalf of Donald Trump. But he can't, because he's now serving a 5-month jail sentence on Rikers Island again. He's back in Rikers Island after he pleaded guilty last month to lying under oath during Letitia James' New York State civil fraud trial. Again, this is Alan Weisselberg. This is the CFO, the chief financial officer of the Trump organization. This is his second go at Rikers Island. Last year, you might remember, he did time after the Trump organization was convicted in another civil lawsuit, and Weisselberg pled guilty to grand larceny, criminal tax fraud, and falsifying business records. That was a separate trial. The Trump organization was sued, as well by the state. I believe it was the city of New York that sued him.
Yes.
That sued his company. You can sue companies. Well,
that's the thing that Trump doesn't want people to know, is that he had more than 90-some lawsuits filed against him before he took presidency.
Alan
I might
Weisselberg
not be correct
promised
on that number
Fred
exactly,
Trump
but he had a
he would
lot
take care
of
of the
lawsuits
son
against
and
him.
lie under oath and serve as a character witness, but he can't because he's
even more filed
put back
against him while
in
he was in
Rikers
office.
Island. But you know who Donald Trump's attorneys are now reaching out to testify on behalf of Donald Trump? This is how desperate Trump's attorneys are for a character witness. They're now reaching out to Stormy Daniels' old attorney, Michael Avenatti. Remember Michael Avenatti?
Oh, shit.
Oh, my mother had such a crush on him.
Shit.
For one brief moment back in 2018, there was talk of Michael Avenatti running against Trump in 2020. He had like a 7-month window. He was all over MSNBC and CNN, and he was sticking it to Trump as Stormy Daniels' attorney, and he laid out the case. He laid it all out there for the world.
Quite clearly.
Then President Donald Trump paid hush money to my client, Stormy Daniels, in the lead up to the 2016 presidential election. He laid out why these hush money payments were criminal, how it involved forging documents and violating campaign finance laws. And did my mother have a crush on Michael Avenatti for maybe a half a year.
Oh, shit.
Women loved him. And then he disappeared. What happened to Michael Avenatti? Like he's no longer on with Rachel or Joy Reid or CNN. In December of 2022, Michael Avenatti was sentenced to 19 years. 19 years in prison without parole. Michael Avenatti is serving 19 years in prison without parole for stealing millions from his clients and extortion. In other words, he's an attorney.
He's an attorney.
Attorney should be doing 19 years in prison, especially divorce attorneys. But now, Michael Avenatti, in an exclusive interview with Rupert Murdoch's New York Post, says he's been contacted by Donald Trump's attorneys to see if he, Michael Avenatti, would be interested in testifying on behalf of Trump. Now, he's doing time right now for stealing money from Stormy Daniels. And Trump's attorneys are so desperate, they're saying, would you like to testify against Stormy Daniels on behalf of Donald Trump? That's a character witness, the guy who stole the hush money from Stormy Daniels. Avenatti said he's thinking about testifying from prison. He says he's not doing this because if Trump gets reelected, that there would be some pardon in the future. Of course not. Trump takes the pardon process very seriously. He would never pardon somebody as payback. He would never pardon his old campaign managers, Paul Manafort or Steve Bannon or Roger Stone or Jared Kushner's father. He would never do that. He takes the pardon process very seriously. I'm lying. He pardoned all of them. Rudy, at one time, said he was selling pardons for like $2 million, that Trump was, that's the woman who was suing Rudy for wage theft and rape claims that Rudy told her that he and Trump were selling pardons in late 2020 and early 2021 for $2 million each. Like I said, the walls are closing in on Donald Trump. In this criminal trial, if convicted, Trump could face, I'm told, possibly 4 years in prison at the most. But I'm being told it's unlikely that he'll do any time if he's found guilty in this trial. I'm also told it's not likely he'll do time after he's found guilty of violating the Espionage Act down in Miami if that trial ever begins. But the election interference trial in D.C. is serious, and it's not going to stop. This week, oral arguments begin before the Supreme Court to determine whether Trump, as an ex-president, has absolute immunity once he leaves office for any crimes he might have committed in the White House. I'll have more on this later in the week. So Trump, he's a sociopath, but he's aware of danger. He knows he's in danger. He knows he's looking at a special counsel, Jack Smith, who wants Donald Trump in lockup. And Donald Trump also knows that all he can do right now is delay that trial until the election, until after the election. He's planning to win. But if he loses in November, he can't pardon himself. He can't order his Justice Department to drop the charges against him. Everything is riding on November, and he knows that. So what this criminal trial, which they call the runt of the litter, what this criminal trial will succeed in doing is humiliate Donald Trump in the court of public opinion. For the next 6, 7, possibly 8 weeks, there will be non-stop coverage of how Donald Trump cheated on Melania without a condom right after she gave birth to their son. I said this, 2 months ago when he locked up the nomination? He would have benefited from a tighter race for the nomination because that would have distracted from these trials. But instead, he's the presumptive nominee. And there's no horse race anymore. So we turn to the criminal trials. And while Biden is out there forgiving student loans, signing executive orders to close the gun show loophole, Trump is spending his spring sitting in a dingy Manhattan courtroom, having the life sucked out of him. Did you see him Friday complaining about it's freezing in there? It's freezing. It's like an old man. He's turning into an old man. They're going to give him a blanket, and he'll take some horse tranquilizers, more horse tranquilizers.
More horse
and
tranquilizers.
Sleep. That's what they're putting. He's on something. To make life even scarier for Donald Trump, Benny Thompson was the chairman of the January 6th committee. And last week, he introduced this piece of legislation that, if passed, would deny any convicted felon Secret Service protection if they've been convicted of a crime and are forced to do time in prison. The thinking is, if Trump goes to prison, no Secret Service protection for him. So, Trump is fighting this.
Love it.
He's fighting this on two fronts. There are his legal fees, and he's reportedly spent $60 million on legal fees just last year alone. He didn't spend it. His super PAC spent $60 million on legal fees last year. That's one front in this war to stay out of prison. And the other front is getting elected so that he can theoretically keep himself out of prison. You know, if he's convicted in Georgia or here in Manhattan, theoretically, he can't pardon himself out of that. And theoretically, I've read some think that a United States president could be forced to serve time if the convictions come down before he's elected president.
I hope they do.
Honestly, people complain when I say he's not going to go to prison. False expectations create depression and disappointment. I'm sorry, I would love to see him locked up for life, but I don't think he's going to prison over this Manhattan criminal trial. I could lie to you, but I just don't think, I think he's going to be convicted. I just don't think he's going to go to jail because of if he's convicted in this Manhattan trial. He does know that he has to win in November to keep his pasty white ass out of prison,
Yes.
possibly without Secret Service protection, because if he loses in November, when he loses in November, Jack Smith is coming at him for wire fraud. It's never going to end. So he's fighting this war on two fronts, and it involves allocating resources, money. How do I spend the money coming in? How much do I spend on my criminal attorneys, and how much do I spend on not needing criminal attorneys by becoming president? How much do I spend on legal fees, and how much do I spend on my campaign?
And me.
And Trump knows this. He's sitting, stewing in the courtroom today, knowing that not only is Joe Biden
I haven't broken my fast.
coming up in the polls and being able to campaign, unlike Donald Trump, Joe Biden's crushing Trump when it comes to raising money. Trump in 2020, but really in 2016, could rely on small donors. Right now, he's got about half the number of small donors than he had in 2016. He now has to rely on the heavy hitters, the hedge fund managers, and they aren't delivering the way they are for Joe Biden, who is outraising Trump, some say, by as much as 40%. And Biden is now spending it. He's blanketing the swing states with attack ads against Donald Trump. I told you about these ads.
Okay, this is a bit old, but that's enough of Fetterman. I enjoy his content. I really like his insight, but his videos are long. I'd love it if he made shorter content. That's all I'm saying. That's my only criticism of David Fetterman's channel. But I gotta get a better setup because I cannot see half of the fucking TV screen. There we go. Okay, well, this has been, I don't know if I said an interesting one, but it's been an insightful one. Hopefully, Trump can be held accountable for his actions. Like all of us have been held accountable for our actions. Trump has skated actually handling his business and being a man about his bullshit since before his mother passed. So yeah, I'm just burnt out when it comes to Trump and Trump news. But yeah. Until next one, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And yeah, until next time, be good. Just be a better person than what we're getting from Trump and his MAGA disciples. Because this is getting crazy.